Hello everyone, my name is Amit Singh and I welcome you all to Tathastu-ICS. Today we are going to talk about basic structure doctrine, and today in this year it is very important because this basic structure doctrine has completed its 50 years. On 24th of April 1973, the Kesavananda Bharati case, the historic Kesavananda Bharati case, the landmark judgment came for the people of India, and since then this basic structure doctrine has been followed. So today we are going to talk about what is basic structure doctrine, what is its significance, and specifically the timeline of basic structure doctrine, how the things have happened, what were the things which led to some other thing, and eventually it led to the creation of this this beautiful thing. Okay, so if I give you a definition, a simple definition of basic structure doctrine, a simple essence of basic structure doctrine, then it is that temporary will of majority cannot overwhelm or neutralize permanent and fundamental building blocks and the visions of our founding father. There is something which our founding father had envisioned for the people of India. There is an idea of India, and that idea of India stands by secularism. That idea of India stands by the federal structure of the society. It stands by the free and fair elections of for this country. And if a situation arises when there is a party in a power with a brute majority, with a historic number in their side, still at that point of time also it will be considered a temporary majority. It will be considered a majority for a temporary time period, because at the time scale of this country, if a country it spans for 100, 200, 300, 500, 600 years, then the governments, they just come and go for 5 years, 10 years, at max 15, 20 years in a democratic setup. And in that particular time frame, it is considered that the party or the government which is in power shall abide by the constitution, shall abide by the principles, the essence of the constitution. And in India, this essence has been categorically mentioned through basic structure doctrine. Okay, so this was the primary definition. The basic structure doctrine was, just a second, the temporary will of the majority cannot overwhelm or neutralize the permanent and fundamental building blocks and visions of the founding fathers. Okay, this will fetch you marks in your mains. Now, what is basic structure doctrine? What is the basic definition of basic structure doctrine? So, judicially innovated doctrine. This is a judicially innovated doctrine because there have been times it walks on the path of Buddha, जहाँ मध्यम मार्ग का रास्ता अपनाया गया है. So, judicially innovated doctrine forwarded in Kesavananda Bharati case in 1973, on 24th of April 1973. If you are having any difficulty in remembering the particular date, then let me tell you, on 24th of April, Sachin Tendulkar was also born. Okay, so on 24th of April 1973 he was born, and the purpose of basic structure doctrine is to put a limitation on the amending powers of the parliament so that the basic structure of the constitution cannot be amended. Okay, the primary purpose, the primary purpose for this particular concept is that if there is a party in power, if in the parliament party or a government has brute numbers, brute majority, then also they are not supposed to tamper with the essence of the constitution, the basic essence of. Although this basic structure of the constitution, basic structure doctrine has not been mentioned in the constitution, even the specific details have also not been given by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is yet to define or clarify as what constitutes the basic structure of the constitution. Still, if taking an idea from that essence and taking an idea from the judgments which have been passed by the Supreme Court of India, in simple terms, in 2 lines, the basic and the fundamental provisions which constitutes basic and core building blocks of the constitution would be considered the basic structure doctrine. Okay, now let us just look at the timeline which eventually led to the formation of, which eventually led to the happening of Kesavananda Bharati case, and then there were also few cases after that also, but the whole idea was evolved, the whole idea was established in 1973. Before that there were so many hits and misses by the government and the Supreme Court of India also. Eventually it led to the formation of this idea in 24th of April 1973, and after that also it just all the other cases, be it Waman Rao case or the Kihoto another one case was also there. So it just helped it the basic structure doctrine to evolve in a better sense. Okay, so the evolution of basic structure doctrine can be traced from the issue of right to property and first Constitutional Amendment Act of 1951. Now, in the first Constitutional Amendment Act of 1951, the ninth schedule was initiated. And what is the ninth schedule? Through the ninth schedule, if there is a list of rules, the central list is there, state list is there, and right now there are 284 things which are mentioned in ninth schedule, and anything which has been mentioned in the ninth schedule, it is supposed that the judicial overreach or the judicial activism doesn't go there. Okay, judiciary can't give its proclamation over those particular subjects, and this idea came with the first Amendment Act of 1951, and then this amendment was challenged in Shankari Prasad versus Union of India 1951. What happened here? Here the question of amendability of fundamental rights under Article 368 challenged the first Constitutional Amendment Act, the Fundamental Right to Property 1951. But what did the Supreme Court of India say? They said that the Parliament can abridge or take away any fundamental right by enacting a Constitutional Amendment Act, and such a law will not be void under Article 13. So Article 13 is basically what is law. Okay, a simple rule would also be considered a law, and a Constitutional Amendment Act would also be considered a law. Okay, and if there is a specific if there is a specific fundamental, if the Parliament wants to take away these fundamental rights, then they can do so. Okay, this has been said in this Shankari Prasad case. Now moving on, the another case was Sajjan Singh versus State of Rajasthan. Most people do not talk about this, but this is also very much important because it gave validity to Shankari Prasad case. The Supreme Court agreed with its judgment in the Shankari Prasad case in 1951 and held that under Article 368. Now what is Article 368? It talks about the amendment of the Constitution. Okay, with a simple majority, with the state, it talks about the constitutional amendments. Okay, so the Parliament could amend any part of the Constitution. This has been, so the idea which has been given in the Shankari Prasad case has been upheld by Sajjan Singh case. So this is now there was something which has been established, and again now there would be no question, because 2 times Supreme Court of India has said that if the Parliament wants, they can take away any fundamental right. Okay, however, the concurring opinion, now this is very much important, the concurring opinion by the Justice Hidayatullah and Justice Budholkar raised doubts over the unrestricted power of the Parliament to amend the Constitution. Now, why are these concurring opinions important? Because if suppose there are 5 judges which are sitting, okay, and a law, something is considered a law or something is considered the word of Supreme Court when a winning ratio is 3:2. Now 2 judges on each side are saying like this is the thing which should happen, this is the thing which shouldn't happen. There is one judge who can swing the whole decision and swing the whole narrative. Okay, but it would be considered the 2 judges which are on the losing side, or the 2 judges whose recommendations have not been taken, whose judgment have not been taken because the majority matters, till then their concurring opinions would be considered. They were also the prominent part of that judicial system, of that particular judgment, and in the future also they would be referred in the court of law by the advocates, okay, by the legal lawyers. Then comes the Golaknath case. Okay, very much important. This Sajjan Singh case versus Sajjan Singh versus State of Rajasthan happened in 1965. Then came Golaknath case 2 years after that, Golaknath versus the State of Punjab 1967. In Golaknath case, the Supreme Court overturned. This is important. Now it was said, because in Shankari Prasad case there is some judgment, it has been established in the Sajjan Singh case. Okay, so all the talks regarding this issue is all done and dusted, and there would be no other talk regarding this thing. But just 2 years down the line, this Golaknath case happened in 1967, where the Supreme Court overturned the Shankari Prasad judgment and ruled that Article 368 only lays down that the fundamental rights are given a transcendental and immutable position. Okay, so the fundamental rights are essential, and these particular 2 words are very much important. I deliberately inserted it here: transcendental and immutable position. Both the fundamental rights have this position in the Constitution of India. So if they are so much important, if they are immutable, how can you change it? Okay. Hence, the procedure to amend the Constitution and does not give absolute power to the Parliament to amend any part of the Constitution. The procedure which has been laid down in Article 368 of the Constitution does not give the Parliament means the power with the party with the brute force, the party with the large numbers. It doesn't give that party, it doesn't give that government the brute acceptance, the brute majority to do anything it wants. Okay, there is a certain procedure which needs to be followed, and it has been said in Golaknath case. Now the government is on the receiving end. So until when till 1951, when the Shankari Prasad case happened, for next 16 years, the government, the ruling parties or the governments or the Parliament was enjoying all the things, because they have this luxury to do all the things which they want, to do all the amendments which they want. But then then the time comes for the Golaknath case in 1967. For 4 years, all these things happened. Then comes the time of 1971, when the 24th Constitutional Amendment Act happened. Now, I always tell students to look at the picture from the multiple dimensions. This particular time period of 1971 is very much important. Why? Because this was the time when India-Pakistan war has happened for Bangladesh. Okay, Bangladesh got liberated, Bangladesh got formed. The government which was in the power in 1971 was very much confident, was very much acceptable in the court, not in the court of law, but in the court of law for the people of India. Okay, in their opinion, in their sense, they are very much acceptable. They did something which was commendable, which might have given the power and the confidence to the Indira Gandhi government, to the contemporary government. And because of that confidence, might be this Amendment Act has been introduced, the 24th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, so to surpass the Golaknath judgment, which the Golaknath judgment says that there are constraints over the amendment of fundamental right, the government enacted 24th Amendment Act, which introduced a provision to Article 368. Okay, this provision has been introduced of the Constitution, which stated that the Parliament has the power to take away any of the fundamental rights. Then comes the time of 1971. So I always tell students to look at a particular event through different dimensions. Okay, 1971 was the time when the contemporary government, Indira Gandhi government, was very strong. Militarily, they were very strong. They just defeated their neighbor in the Pakistani government and the Pakistani regime, and the formation of Bangladesh had happened. Okay, the Bangladesh Liberation War had happened. So that was the time, that was the confidence, maybe that was the reason that the 24th Constitutional Amendment Act happened. Okay, so 4 years after Golaknath case, the government came back. Okay, the things are ours, and we'll work upon it, and we'll try to gain our rights, are things which we considered to be true. Okay, to surpass the Golaknath judgment, which constrains the fundamental rights and the amendment regarding it, the government enacted the 24th Amendment Act, which introduced a provision to Article 368 of the Constitution, which stated that the Parliament has the power to take away any of the fundamental right. Okay, again the same story continues. Again the government says that Parliament has the power to take away any fundamental right. The whole idea, the whole story is behind this, that the Parliament wants the power to take away the fundamental right according to their whims and fancies, according to their needs. And then there is this idea which says that what has happened to the fundamental right, should the Supreme Court says that it should happen according to the rule of law. Okay, now it also mandates it also made it obligatory for the president to give his assent on all the constitutional amendment bills sent to him. Okay, so this thing was very much important, and this is also very much important for your prelims examination also, because this is a thing which has been repeatedly asked not only in your UPSC exams, but this is also a favorite question for all the coaching institutes, and they make their practice questions from this particular line. Okay, so when did it happen? When it has been said to the President of India that it is very much obligatory for you to give your assent to the constitutional amendment bills, it was under the 24th Amendment Act of 1971. Okay, then comes the legendary Kesavananda Bharati case. Then the whole idea of walking on the middle path comes in. After it was the fight of almost
22 years. Okay, after this it has been realized that it's a cat and mouse fight which will go on and on and on. So let's find a middle way, and this is the legendary middle way. The Kesavananda Bharati, I showed you, he was a saint, and our initial picture was of him only. So the Supreme Court in this case upheld the validity of the 24th Constitutional Amendment Act by reviewing its decision in the Golaknath case. Okay, so they reviewed its decision in the Golaknath case, and what they said that that whatever has been said by the 24th in the 24th Amendment Act, we will upheld its validity. But the Supreme Court held that the Parliament has the power to amend any provision of the Constitution, but in doing so, the basic structure of the Constitution is to be maintained. They gave the liberty, they gave the power to the Parliament. Okay, you want to amend the Constitution? Go. Very good, go ahead with it. But do not tamper with the basic structure of the Constitution. This was the time when this new idea has been introduced. The basic structure doctrine has been introduced. Okay, do whatever you want, but this is the core. These are the core principles. Don't touch it. And if something is touching it, then we'll come here to rescue it. Okay. Thus, this landmark judgment meant that every provision of the Constitution could be amended, but these amendments can be subjected to judicial review to ascertain that the basic structure of the Constitution remains intact. Okay, so the whole idea on the part of Supreme Court of India was, for last 22 years, is to uphold the basic idea, of the Constitution. And if it gives it, if the Parliament gives this, has this right to amend any part of the Constitution, then it can take away that. Okay, so this is the middle path which deals with both the things. It gives the right to the government, and it also gives the right, a scope to the Supreme Court of India to look after the things that is it really hampering the idea of the India. Okay, then comes the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. All these things for 3 years, just like after Golaknath for 4 years, after Kesavananda Bharati case for 3 years also, things were on the side of Supreme Court of India or on the middling side. But then the mini constitution came in 1976. This was a time of 1976 was a time of emergency. Again, the government was not only powerful but a bit dictatorial also. Okay, so the government in 1976 enacted 42nd Amendment Act that declared no limitation to the constituent power of the Parliament under Article 368. So article, as I told you, Article 368 is gives you the right to amend the Constitution, gives the Parliament to, or the party with the good numbers, with the numbers of above 272, to amend the Constitution. Obviously they should have numbers in both the houses of the Parliament. Okay, the amendment, also this 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 has been called the mini constitution for introducing wide ranging constitutional changes. It barred the courts from questioning constitutional amendments. Okay, that is why many earlier it has been said that before this, the main idea of constitution has been taken, other than visiting different constitutions of the world by our founding fathers. The Government of India Act 1935 was the base of the current Indian constitution, but the whole idea to a great extent has been changed. That is why it has been called the mini constitution. Okay, then comes, after 4 years, then comes the Minerva Mills case. Now the ball is in Supreme Court's court. Okay, so in this case, the Supreme Court invalidated the provisions of 42nd Amendment Act of 1976 and ruled that the Parliament cannot take away the power of judicial review as it is the part of basic structure. Okay, so here what they said, that they barred the courts from questioning the constitutional amendment. So by questioning the constitutional amendment, the Supreme Court of India or the courts are exercising their judicial review. Okay, some people say judicial activism, some say judicial outreach. Okay, but this is the judicial review which has been which the Supreme Court of India talks about. And now there is a question: is judicial review is mentioned in the Constitution of India? Okay, this has been asked in your prelims examination also. So please try to answer it in the comment section. So in Minerva Mills case, it has been said that the idea of judicial review which has been taken, so they invalidate this whole 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. Now this was the time again when the Indira Gandhi government fell down and new government was there. which was a coalition government and which was leading India at that point of time, which was in 1976 was in the opposition. Okay, so the Waman Rao versus Union of India, then 1981 after Kesavananda Bharati case, then the Minerva Mills came in, and what it gave the validity to Kesavananda Bharati case, and it invalidated the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. Here the basic structure with Minerva Mills and with the establishment of Kesavananda Bharati case, the idea of basic structure doctrine has been established. Now it has been considered that there is a middle way which gives the parliament the power to amend any part of the constitution. If they want to amend the fundamental rights, most welcome, do that, but just be aware of the fact that you cannot tamper with the basic structure of the constitution. Okay, and after Kesavananda Bharati case, with the happening of Minerva Mill case, it has been broadly established. Okay, in then all these things are the garnishing over fundamental, over the basic structure doctrine, over Kesavananda Bharati case. Okay, also known as doctrine of prospective overruling, the Waman Rao case. The court decided that all the laws placed under 9th schedule before the Kesavananda judgment cannot be called into question for violating the fundamental rights. Now, what was 9th schedule? As I told you that there is a central list, there is a state list, and if it is under 9th schedule, then the judiciary cannot exercise its judicial review over those subjects. Okay, currently there are 284. I don't know if the numbers are going up and down, but what I saw, it is 284. Okay, so it talks about the doctrine of judicial prospective overruling. Okay, and it says that before 1971, if there is something which is under the 9th schedule, then it's okay, it's fine. But after 1973, I'm sorry, Kesavananda Bharati case happened in 1973. So before 1973, if anything, 24th April to be specific, 24th April 1973, is anything is under 9th schedule of the constitution, then they leave it to the governments. But anything which has been placed under 9th schedule after 24th April of 1973, then they will exercise their judicial review power. Okay, then comes the Kihoto Hollohan case. Okay, now it is a popular defection case. There is a big political crisis in Karnataka where people were switching their parties. Okay, and this judgment came in 1993, and it also strengthened the idea of basic structure of the constitution, popularly known as defection case. The Supreme Court added that free and fair elections, and these particular words which have been mentioned in our preamble, okay, sovereign, democratic, republican structure to the basic structure of the constitution. So these words have been re-established with this particular incident, with this defection incident in Karnataka, in this Kihoto Hollohan case. These particular words have been re-established, that this is the idea of India, this is the idea which the preamble and the constitution stands for. Then comes the SR Bommai versus Union of India case, 1994. It further enriches the idea of basic structure doctrine. What does it say? The Supreme Court declared that federalism, okay, secularism, democracy are the basic structures of the constitution. A landmark decision of Supreme Court of India, where the court discussed at length the provisions of Article 356 of the constitution and its related issue. Broadly, SR Bommai case is about the presidential rules. Okay, if the government is putting presidential rules in the specific states, and the reason behind that is political, the reason is political motivation, petty politics, then the Supreme Court of India will come in and they will exercise its judicial review. Okay, and there they gave these things, secularism, federalism and democracy. They included this in the whole list, which is not yet done by the Supreme Court of India. They considered it the basic structure. Okay, so this is it with the basic structure and its timeline, the whole story, which has been started with the Shankari Prasad case in 1951. Then it went to Sajjan Singh case, then the Golaknath case. In between there was 24th Amendment Act of 1971. Then there was 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. Kesavananda Bharati case happened, Minerva Mills case supported it. Then for those Minerva Mills case, there were some establishment of the idea of basic structure doctrine with the happening of Kihoto Hollohan case, SR Bommai case, and everything came in. Okay, so this was the whole story, this was the whole timeline. Now very quickly we'll see that why is this basic structure is so significant, and we are done with our lecture. So it is significant basically because the basic structure of the constitution is a living spirit, okay, and it holds up the body and its text. Okay, So for the constitution, if it wants to be lively, if it wants to react with the situation, then it has to be lively, and there should be the idea of basic structure which shouldn't be tempered. Okay, if it is a very evolving if it is a very evolving constitution, then there should be some basic principles which needs to be taken care of. Okay, so that is why the basic structure is so significant. It has been said it is the soul of the constitution, linked to the values enshrined in the preamble, without which the document and the ideas that make it scared would collapse. Okay, what makes our constitution, what makes our preamble sacred, what makes it pure, is this idea, is the idea of India, and if it gets tempered, then the idea of India gets tempered. Okay, Granville Austin, working his work on the democratic constitution, he said that the basic structure doctrine is fairly said to have become the bedrock of the constitutional interpretation in India. Okay, so for every constitutional interpretation for the court of law, this basic structure is the bedrock now. Okay, according to Austin. Okay, and the courts have clarified that the basic structure aims to secure the rule of law and essential for the preservation of democratic system. Okay, if we are living in a democratic system, again, if we are living in a if we are living with a lively constitution and we want to evolve with the time, why we did all these things, the new Nyaya Sanhita bill, why, what was the need in today's time? Because the Indian Penal Code which came in was in the period of 1850s. Okay, and now we are ahead of the time. At that time there was no cyberbullying, at that time there was no artificial intelligence, there was no blockchain, there was no chips, there were no semiconductors. Okay, so with the evolving time, the constitution also needs to evolve, but the idea has to stay there, and for the idea to stay there, there needs to be a basic structure doctrine. Okay, that is why this whole debate has happened, that is why this whole timeline we discussed, to get the essence of it, to get the whole idea of it. I hope now you have the whole picture in your mind, that how, when and why was it happening, why it led to so many years for this churning. That churning of 22 years eventually led to the idea of basic structure doctrine in 1973. And today also the India as a whole is fighting against anything which hampers the idea of India. Okay, so this is it from my side. This is it for the basic structure doctrine. We'll meet in the other class. Until then, take care. Bye bye.